What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and if you've ever seen the channel over here, I'm really into smaller, easy to conceal, great shooting handguns. So they still have awesome shootability, but they're still very easy to carry, conceal, and you can also carry them multiple ways, and they can also flex into multiple roles. That is why you tend to see me with subcompacts, because they have the ability to shapeshift so well. And especially with some of these micro 9s out here, the larger magazine offerings for their larger brothers and so on, they also have the ability to shapeshift. But on top of that, you will know that the P365 and other SIG handguns, I'm just not the biggest fan of. If you own a SIG, if that's your main carry, I have nothing against it. Nothing against it. They're good shootable handguns. It's just, from my experience, I've had issues. And that's the only reason why I'm not the biggest fan of the P365. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. Let's get into the video. Tell me what you carried today, what kind of holster, what kind of defensive ammo. Also, tell me your thoughts on Sauer and their newer handguns. Now, like I said, when I first got my P365, I was beyond excited. And if you want the proof, it's up on my channel. When I first got my first P365, I got the FDE original, so it was this upper with an FDE lower, right? And it was an awesome looking handgun. And on top of that, when I started dry firing it and shot it for the first time and stuff, look at my face on the reaction videos. I absolutely love shooting it. I thought it was smooth, it was clean for how small it is, good trigger, good sights. The trigger, basically, when you're shooting this thing, that handgun doesn't even move at all. Very easy to shoot for its size. And you also saw a video of me where I took a handgun and I was like, because I got my new P365, this one's going in the trash. And yes, it was a skit and a joke and so on. I would never throw a handgun away, but I was making a point that the SIG P365 looked to be a real contender. And then I started taking to the range every single time I went. You know, I'm going every single weekend, shooting 150 to 300, 400 rounds per sitting. Going to the woods, shooting 300, 400 rounds in the woods. Just having a good time. And then came my first problem with the SIG P365. What happened with it is, it locked back and could not go forward. And it had this crazy, I don't know what it was, just a locking up. And so basically my slide wasn't fully locked back on the slide stop, but it was far enough to where it was caught on something. So I ended up calling my gunsmith. I took it to my gunsmith, and I'm like, you know what? I put 400 rounds through this thing, and after 300 rounds, I started carrying it because it ate all my carry ammo, and I liked the way it shot, so I started carrying it. I'm like, how does this stuff happen at 400 rounds? And so he took the firearm apart, did a lot of measuring, comparing to his P365s, comparing to spare parts, and he found that there were some out-of-spec springs in this handgun that caused this lockup. And it was absolutely insane. Like I said, the slide was locked back, not fully, but partially, and it would not move. It was completely stuck. And so he ordered new springs for it, put it back together, and it's been 100% reliable ever since. But that basically just left a sour taste in my mouth, especially when it comes to my children's lives, right? One thing my wife always tells me is, she says, you know, whenever I'm with you, I feel like I have my own bodyguard. Whenever I'm with you, I know how proficient you are at shooting. I feel like I'm protected no matter what. You always have something on you. You're always caring. You're always protecting our family. And then I started thinking about the P365. I'm like, am I really with a handgun that could have possibly done that? Think about it. Self-defense encounter. First shot I take, lock back. Stuck like that. I'm no longer here in a self-defense encounter. I'm gone. And so that really had left a bad taste in my mouth. And that's the thing about handguns. You get lemons, you get bad ones, you get firearms that cause issues, and that's why I'm so big on testing my handguns. I used to do the 300 round rule. When I test a handgun, if it eats all my carry ammunition and all the target ammo at 300 rounds, it's carry certified. But after my P365, I moved that up to about 500 rounds. Well, then the Canik Meta MC9 came out, and I had issues with that, and that was at 750 rounds. So that all sort of became very discouraging to me, and so now I tend to just carry firearms that I really trust, that I put thousands of rounds through and haven't had an issue with. But like I said, I love the P365. I have nothing against SIG whatsoever. And my two favorite things they've done is what we're going to go over. One, they created the stack and a half. Now, I shouldn't say they created it. Kel-Tec did it before P365, or before SIG and the P365. That's just a fact. Kel-Tec did it way back. But because of Kel-Tec's track record, their history, their quality control, it clearly did not work out the way they wanted it to. Think about it. 6 years ago, single stacks were the biggest handguns. That's what everyone was carrying. That's what everyone loved. They were concealable. They were small. You could pocket carry them. And then the P365 came out, and those handguns were no longer a thing. But SIG basically made the stack and a half mag popular, is what I mean by that. And because of them, we have stuff like my favorite handguns, the Hellcat, the Shield Plus, the FN Reflex, the IWI Masada, even the Taurus GX4, which we're going to get into in another video, and its relations to SIG. But anyways, I love that. And without the SIG P365, we wouldn't have those handguns, because they're truly the company that brought it out to the world and made it popular. They didn't create it, but they created the hype for it and all these other handguns, basically. So you can thank SIG for that. And to be honest, I'm very grateful for that, because like I said, my favorite handguns are subcompacts and micro 9s, and because of this handgun right here, that's why we have so many awesome options. And think about it, Walther's coming out with theirs next year. That's going to be the PPS M3. CZ is going to be coming out with theirs. So we have these awesome handgun companies that are all making amazing handguns simply because of this thing right here. So you got to give it the credit to SIG. Give credit to where credit's due. So shout out to SIG Sauer. But the other thing that they did that was huge for me is they created 357 SIG, right? Just like Smith & Wesson created 40 Smith & Wesson, one of my favorite rounds. Well, SIG created 357 SIG. Glock also made a round called Glock Auto Pistol 45 GAP. But out of those 3 rounds, personally, I love 40. I absolutely love 40. But in my opinion, I love 357 SIG. And without SIG Sauer, we wouldn't have 357 SIG. I just wish more companies would put out handguns at 357 SIG so that ammo prices would come down, because they are expensive. But the thing about self-defense, your children's lives, your lives, and so on is they are worth more than any amount of rounds that you could ever purchase. They are more than any training, anything in the world. They are priceless, right? So when it really comes down to it, when it comes to the best defensive round, I honestly think it is 357 SIG. A lot of people will argue with me. Everyone's going to say 9mm. But then go watch videos. Like, there's some awesome videos out there. I think Chook Outdoors Adventure, he did an awesome comparison between 9mm, or no, not 9mm, but he just did an awesome video on 357 SIG and its ballistics out of this exact setup. And the performance was unbelievable. And this is a 3.1 inch barrel. This is a small barrel. When you shoot 380 or 9mm out of a small 3-inch barrel, it's not as fast, doesn't expand as well, doesn't penetrate as well. But 357 SIG out of a short barrel gets up there with some awesome velocities, some awesome foot-pound energy, and is really an effective round. And like I said, it's my favorite everyday carry round. It's just not popular, and that's what sort of ruins it for a lot of people. But the thing I love about 357 SIG is you're getting a casing about the size of a 40 and a projectile weight and size and diameter of a 9mm. So you're getting all the extra power on a 9mm round, basically. And the thing I love about that is, like I said, out of a short barrel, it's amazing. So you can get a super small handgun like the Shield, convert it to 357 SIG, and now you have a powerhouse of a handgun, even with the short barrel. Some of these 3-inch barrels just don't get good velocities, don't get good speeds, don't do the job every time. Now, a gun is better than no gun. A 380 is better than a stick. A 9 is better than a rock. They're all effective rounds as long as it's not 22 long rifle, which 22 long rifle can still be effective. It just doesn't tend to be the most reliable out of, you know, these handguns that they're producing that could be carried. So in my opinion, 380 and up is the best. But 357 SIG is an awesome handgun. Watch some true comparisons. Watch some true gel tests. And when you carry with Civil Liberty Defense rounds, the ballistics are unbelievable out of small barreled handguns. When you shoot Extreme Defenders from Underwood, the ballistics are unbelievable, even out of short barrels. So with those two things combined, those are my 2 favorite things about SIG Sauer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.